Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, as I said before, I'm going to be talking about sweeteners and the different types of sweeteners and the ones that are good for you and the ones that might not be good for you and you may not know about it. So I've been doing a little research and I found a lot of information that kind of opened my eyes about sweetness, and you know, now kind of when I buy certain products I kind of know what's good and what's not, in terms of low carb diets and in terms of trying to stay away from hidden sugars and hidden calories. So okay, so let's start with just normal sweeteners that we all use. Okay, so I'll start with the good ones and then go to the bad ones. So the best one, in my opinion, is something called Stevia. Stevia is an all-natural product. It's a sugar substitute extracted from the leaves of the plant species Stevia. It's very sweet, so you don't need a lot, and the good thing about it is the glycemic index of Stevia is 0, which means that your insulin is not going to increase by much. The next sweetener is called Splenda, and you probably have heard of Splenda quite a lot. The thing about Splenda is that you have to use a really tiny bit, so it's like it just doesn't weigh anything. It's kind of like a sachet and it just doesn't weigh anything. But the thing about Splenda, and especially if you use it in baking and if you use a lot of it, is that there's only 1%, but you know, in substance that that is in a sachet, there's only 1% of the actual sweetener, and the rest is something called Maltodextrin, which is not sweetener. It's classified as sugar. It's kind of like a bulking agent in a way, so that's what gives it that kind of substance, the same texture as like granulated sugar. So the thing about maltodextrin, and that's the reason why I decided to stay away from it, is if you look at normal cane sugar, the glycemic index of that is about 65. So but that means that it can be from 0 to 100, and the 0 means that there's kind of no glucose in it, and the 100 means that it's kind of pure glucose. So the glycemic index of sugar is 65, and glycemic index of maltodextrin is not even 100. I mean, I'm looking at the scale, and well, it says this should be from 0 to 100, and the glycemic index of maltodextrin is 110. So can you imagine, you're thinking to yourself that you're eating something that's sugar-free, that's not going to raise your insulin too much, that's going to end up raising your insulin higher than the sugar. I'm not sure why companies are allowed to do that sort of thing. I don't know if it affects diabetic people the same way, which may be the reason why you're allowed to kind of label maltodextrin as sugar-free product. Maybe it doesn't affect diabetic people the same. But what I found out about this substance, maltodextrin, is they put it into the weirdest place. Like there was this product that I used to like a lot, which is like chorizo sausages. They were like crack to me. Like, I enjoyed them so much, and every time I'd eat them, the next day I would feel like I've gained a little weight, like a tiny bit, but I would gain a little weight, and I couldn't figure out why, because I thought that there was just meat in them, meat and some spices and some fat and stuff like that. But what I found out is that it's got maltodextrin in it, and it kind of started making sense. Some experts say that you should stay away from processed foods, but they don't really explain why, so you kind of still want to, because you don't really understand what's going on. And that kind of made sense to me. Like, oh, it's got maltodextrin in it, so it's obviously raising my insulin too high and makes me, you know, not lose weight and store fat. That's the thing about Splenda, and that's the thing that I found out. You feel a bit cheated afterwards, because you think of Splenda as something. Yes, it is still low calorie because there's such a small amount of it that you always have. Like, you only need half a gram, probably even less. But the fact about it is that it's still got those ingredients in it that basically are worse for you than sugar. Moving on, another commonly used sweetener is sucralose. And okay, there's two. There's sucralose and there's aspartame, and those two kind of are used together sometimes, and they most oftenly you will see them in diet drinks. So you'll see them in Diet Coke, you'll see it in Diet Dr. Pepper, Diet whatever. Those I found for myself, so when I looked up the glycemic index for both sucralose and the aspartame are 0. So that's a good thing. The thing about diet drinks is that when they add the sweetener to it, they don't need to bulk it up because there's nothing to bulk up. You just add the sweetener to the to liquid. So that's why sugar-free drinks are more kind of widespread. So I've talked about those two. So as for sucralose, sometimes they add it to syrups. So if you go like, mostly when you go to fitness websites to buy like sugar-free syrups or sugar-free powders or something like that, they would put sucralose in it. So that means that it's fine. So anything with sucralose is okay. So now we're moving on to something that I was confused about for a very, very long time. So you must have seen sugar-free Atkins bars. If you must have seen Atkins bars, and as a low-carb dieter, I've tried Atkins bars before, or low-carb bars, and they kind of halt your weight loss completely, especially if you eat 1 a day or 2 a day, your weight loss is halted completely. And I couldn't figure that out because they're marketing those bars as low carb. So Atkins, how can it stop you from losing weight if you're on a low carb diet or Atkins diet and you're trying an Atkins bar? But what I found is, and that's when I found out, I was like, okay, now that makes sense. Let's look up the ingredients for an Atkins bar. These sweeteners in this bar are sucralose, which is what I talked about, which is good, yeah, which is a good sweetener. But the other one is Maltitol. Okay, and there's a completely different story about Maltitol. So it's kind of like a group of sweeteners that are mostly used in sugar-free low-carb chocolates that you buy in shops. And those are Maltitol, Erythritol, and Xylitol. So Maltitol is the most common sweetener that you will see in chocolates or the Atkins bars. And okay, so here's the thing, right? It's marketed as polyol, right? Okay, so they can legally say that it's not sugar, it's not carb. So basically they market it as polyol. However, going by the Okay, but going by the guide, sugar has got 65 glycemic index, so Maltitol has got a 35. So it's still gonna raise your insulin. It's still gonna halt your weight loss if you're on a low carb diet. So you want something that's lower than 5 glycemic index, maybe 10 if you're talking about vegetables. And another thing is about this, it gives me, I cannot tolerate, like some people have, I'm not the only one, I thought it was just me, but there are other people, I've heard other people say that when they take Maltitol, it gives them gas, basically. I personally try to stay away from it. I'll have it very, very rarely if I really want to, and if I don't have anywhere to go. Yeah. Okay, so going back to Maltitol is the worst one, 35. Then the second one is Xylitol, and you can buy Xylitol on its own. Some people use it as baking ingredient for low carb cakes and stuff like that. And the glycemic index of Xylitol is 12, and the glycemic index of Erythritol is 2. So out of the 3, Erythritol is probably your best choice, but still watch your intake as well, because it's not complete 0, so you'll still have like a little raise in insulin. So there's aspartame, sucralose, stevia, which is the best to use on its own. Erythritol is not too bad, but just watch out and you might have reaction to it. Xylitol, not very good. Maltitol, widely used in chocolate bars and sugar-free chocolates that you can buy online or in shops. So stay away from Maltitol, and then just watch out for the 2 ingredients that you can see, you most likely will see in products that are branded as sugar-free, but that it will be used as bulking agent, or you will see it in meat products. I have seen pretty much either dextrose or maltodextrin in maybe 75% of all processed foods that you can buy in shops, as they put it on everything. That's probably why it tastes so good, because they put that dextrose in it, maltodextrin, that's got like the glycemic index that's higher than 100. But yeah, so yeah, if I missed anything, if you have any questions, and if you have a product and you don't know whether it's good for you or not on a low carb diet or any other diet, let me know and I can find out for you. And yeah, if let me know if there's anything else that you'd like for me to research and let you know. Okay, so thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.